Welcome to People. I'm Micah Mater. From Prohibition to the first black president, a lot has happened in the last 100 years. Our first guest has been here for it all. Arthur Ingram celebrated his centennial birthday last weekend. He joins us in studio with one of his sons, Wade, and his grandson, Elliot. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for
How
having
you
me.
doing?
I'm good.
Happy birthday.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
I tell you, what's it like to have a dad who's lived all this long?
Well, he's a walking history book.
He is.
Yes, he's a walking history book. He came to Chicago in 1948 with 2 children, with 1 on the way. You know, my 3rd oldest sibling was born here in 1948, and he was a sharecropper down in Mississippi, Byhalia, Mississippi, and he decided to come to Chicago for a better life for his family and had 9 kids, more kids here in Chicago.
9 kids?
9 more.
9 more? How many kids do you have?
11.
11?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Huh?
Why?
Why you have so many kids?
Well, see, my wife was a breeding woman.
Okay, okay.
That's what the doctor told her that.
Okay. And well, you know, that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
That's Mother Nature.
Well, see, she wanted to tie a tube, and the doctor told her she was a breeding woman.
Okay.
And she didn't have kids. And, you know, her health would be bad.
Oh, well,
And
she
she
was very healthy then. Elliot, what's it like to have a grandfather? I mean, who's a walking history book?
It's inspiring.
Is it?
Thank you, man.
You know, it gives me encouragement that there's still a lot of life to be had, to be done, and I'm just thankful that he's in my life.
What is your earliest memory?
What's your earliest memory of Chicago? Or
Well, when
Or
I
just
got
of
here.
history?
Well, see, when I got to Chicago in '48, this was a smoky town, you know. All kind of stuff. So I liked it, but my wife didn't like it. So I accepted, you know, I come here for a better life and everything.
How was it to buy your first house? Because that was during. How was it to buy your first house? That was during redlining, right?
Yeah, I bought my first house in '62.
And was that tough? As a black man, was that tough to buy a house?
Well, I had a lot of kids, and I didn't allow my wife to work because that was her job. She knew more house needs than I did. So she wanted to work. I said, no, I bring the bread. So I worked for Brock's Candy 32 years.
Which is fabulous, but racism was abound back then, right?
Huh?
Racism was abound back then.
racism, prejudice.
Yeah.
So was that tough to buy a house back then for you? And what have you seen as far as racism and riots and things like that over the years?
Well, I didn't have no problem with it. No.
You dealt with it pretty well.
Yeah, I know what line to cross and what line not to cross.
Right.
And I taught my children what line to cross. This way they can't cross this way and that way.
I mean, he had just a font of information for you on things to do and not to do. Do you think that helped you in growing up and dealing with racism?
Yeah, well, you know what? In terms of race, my dad always taught us that, first of all, it's you. Okay, we can say that society is racist, this and that, but do your part. You know, sometimes, you know, if you do bad in school and your teacher was of a different race, you would attribute it to race, but he always would say, first of all, let's look at what you did or didn't do. So he never really harped on a race as much. He knew racism existed. He grew up in Jim Crow in Mississippi where washrooms and everything was segregated, so he's very aware of that. I don't think he always heard the questions right, but his recall is not what it is right now.
Course,
Give him a couple of seconds. But yeah, he's very aware of Jim Crow. He tells us stories about the South that he got from his mother and his grandfather.
We hear so much about, you know, black history, and a lot of it is the narrative, speaking and talking. Do you get that from your grandfather? Does he tell you things and you kind of remember them and you have a history from him?
Absolutely. My grandfather is a capitalist. I asked him, Papa, what made you leave Mississippi to come up to Chicago? He said, well, son, it's quite simple. It's economics. It's making $1 a day compared to $1 a week. And those are life lessons I never forgot.
Are you glad you came to Chicago?
Oh,
I mean, you were
yeah.
part of the
Oh,
Great
yeah.
Migration.
Yeah, I'm way glad, yeah.
You think it helped you to raise your children, helped you to learn about more things?
Yeah,
And you were in World War II, right?
yeah.
You weren't there long, though.
No.
No, he went to Camp Shelby in, is that Hattiesburg, Mississippi? Where's Camp Shelby at? But rumor has it, when he was younger, he was saying he was a sharecropper, and he was renting land from some person, his father, and they needed him on a farm. So they made a telephone call to Camp Shelby to send him back to the plantation to continue the sharecropping, because my grandfather was a sharecropper, and my father started plowing a mule at a young age. How old were you when you started plowing a mule, Daddy?
7 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And they needed him on the farm, so he was drafted. He was drafted in World War II in Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and then the farmer made some phone calls to bring him back to the farm. So he didn't see any active duty.
Yeah.
No.
You know, a lot has happened in your 100 years. One of the big things was the election of a black president. Did that surprise you? Did you think that that would ever happen?
I thought it never would happen.
So what were your feelings then? Can you remember?
Huh?
Can you remember your feelings back then when Barack Obama?
Barack got
Yeah, when Barack Obama, yeah, I feel good. Well, you know, I understand black folk. And the Bible speaks a lot about black folk. All these days coming out, the Bible speaks about these. The Bible says there's gonna come a time, there's gonna be wars and rumor wars, gonna be violence all over the world. It just said what city now? Mm-hmm. And it happened see, we're living in the last days. In the last days, this is what's gonna happen.
And you're here to see it all. Can you believe it? Thank you so
I ain't
much.
seen it all, but I'm seeing some
He gets
of it.
stirred up when it comes to religion.
I see. Arthur Wade Elliott, thank you so much, and happy
Mike.
birthday.
All right.